Adam's phone vibrated insistently on the table. He already knew who it was, the bank. Yet another warning about his negative balance and overdue bills. His stomach churned. How had he, a trained professional with years of experience, ended up in this position? His rent was overdue, his credit cards were maxed out, and his car was on the verge of being repossessed. The feeling of financial instability haunted him day and night. Adam had never imagined he could go bankrupt, but now he found himself at the edge. The question hammering in his mind was simple. How had he let this happen? In the United States, millions of people face this same anxiety every year. According to data from the American Bankruptcy Institute, approximately 773,000 bankruptcy filings were recorded last year. The most alarming part is that many of these individuals did not live luxurious lifestyles. The problem is rarely extravagant spending. In most cases, financial ruin results from small daily habits, impulsive decisions, and a lack of planning. Adam fit this profile perfectly. For years, he maintained a comfortable standard of living without paying close attention to the details. He made only the minimum payments on his credit cards, didn't closely track his expenses, and trusted that he would always figure things out. But the pandemic hit his industry hard, and the loss of a major contract caused his income to be cut in half within a few months. With an emergency fund that was practically non-existent, he had to resort to loans just to keep up with his bills. In no time, his debt had snowballed to the point of becoming unsustainable. The warning signs were there, but he ignored them. And this is the reality for many Americans. Experts point out 3 clear signs that someone is heading toward bankruptcy: relying on credit cards for basic expenses, regularly missing payments, and being unable to save even 10% of their monthly income. Adam had all these signs and failed to realize the severity of his situation until it was too late. The solution began with a brutal diagnosis of reality. He wrote down all his expenses and realized that nearly 40% of his income was going toward unnecessary spending, frequent dining out, unused subscriptions, and impulsive purchases. The first step was to cut these expenses and create a realistic budget, following the 50 divided by 30 divided by 20 rule. 50% of income for necessities, 30% for leisure, and 20% for savings and debt repayment. This change alone gave him some breathing room financially. The first lesson from this journey was clear. No one goes bankrupt overnight. It is the accumulation of small, bad decisions over time. The second lesson was even more impactful. There is always time to act, as long as you recognize the problem and take immediate steps. In the next chapter, we will explore the main causes of bankruptcy in the US and how to avoid these pitfalls before it's too late. Adam felt as if he had woken up from a nightmare. For the first time in years, he was seriously analyzing his finances and seeing, with absolute clarity, the magnitude of the problem he had created for himself. But he was not alone. Personal bankruptcy is a reality for millions of Americans, and understanding the main causes of this financial collapse was essential to avoid repeating the same mistakes. According to the Federal Reserve, nearly 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, with no emergency savings. This means that any unexpected event, a health issue, job loss, or economic crisis can trigger a catastrophic domino effect. But what really drives so many people into bankruptcy? Experts point to 3 major culprits: unexpected medical expenses, excessive use of credit, and lack of financial planning. Lisa's story, a 42-year-old nurse, is a clear example of this trap. Lisa had always maintained stable finances until she was diagnosed with a rare medical condition. Despite having health insurance, the costs of treatments and medications were exorbitant. In less than a year, she accumulated over $50,000 in medical debt, which quickly became an unbearable burden. She tried negotiating with the hospitals, but high interest rates and the lack of a financial plan forced her to file for bankruptcy. And Lisa is not alone. According to a study by the American Journal of Public Health, 66.5% of personal bankruptcies in the US are linked to medical expenses. Many of these individuals had health insurance but were blindsided by high deductibles, uncovered procedures, or insurance limitations. This statistic reveals a frightening reality. Even those who believe they are protected can be dragged into debt without warning. The second major culprit is irresponsible credit use. Millions of Americans rely on credit cards to cover daily expenses, creating a false sense of financial security. According to the Federal Reserve, total credit card debt in the US exceeds $1 trillion, with average interest rates surpassing 20% per year. This means that anyone making only the minimum payment could take decades to pay off a simple purchase. The third critical factor is the lack of solid financial planning. Most people do not have a structured budget and fail to track their expenses. As a result, they end up spending more than they earn without realizing it. Adam fit this profile exactly. He didn't monitor his expenses and took on financial commitments without evaluating whether he could actually afford them. When his income dropped, he simply had no way to sustain his lifestyle. The good news? There are solutions. Building an emergency fund, learning to use credit wisely, and adopting a realistic budget are fundamental steps to breaking the cycle of bankruptcy. Adam knew he was drowning in debt, but now he needed to find a way out of the hole. He began studying the stories of people who had faced even more severe financial challenges and discovered how they managed to turn things around. That's how he came across the story of David, a former project manager who found himself buried in an unpayable $150,000 debt after losing his job and going through a messy divorce. With no fixed income and bills piling up, David even considered filing for bankruptcy, but instead, he adopted a disciplined and strategic approach to rebuild his financial life. The first step was to face reality without fear. He listed all his debts, organizing them by amount and interest rate. It was shocking to see the full extent of the problem, but having a clear view allowed him to create an action plan. Many Americans avoid looking at their finances out of fear of what they'll find, but that's a fatal mistake. Next, David negotiated with his creditors. He called banks and credit card companies and managed to reduce some interest rates and extend payment deadlines. Although many people don't realize it, creditors prefer to receive a smaller amount rather than nothing, so they are often willing to negotiate. The third strategy was applying the snowball method to pay off debt. He prioritized paying off the smallest debts first while making minimum payments on the rest. Each cleared debt was a psychological victory that motivated him to keep going. To reinforce this approach, he also drastically cut unnecessary expenses and followed a strict budget, eliminating any non-essential spending. But David knew that cutting expenses alone wasn't enough. He needed to increase his income. He started by taking on temporary jobs, offering online consulting, and even driving for ride-sharing apps. Small amounts of extra money quickly became a financial relief. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, more than 40% of American workers supplement their income with side jobs, a growing trend. Over 3 years, David managed to pay off most of his debts and, more importantly, learned to handle money responsibly. He realized that the key to financial recovery wasn't just about cutting expenses, but about developing a different mindset regarding money. He would never again spend impulsively or fail to plan his finances. For anyone trapped in debt, the road to getting out begins with 3 steps: facing reality, negotiating debts, and creating multiple sources of income. These habits transform lives and prevent history from repeating itself. After months of struggling to reorganize his finances, Adam realized that getting out of debt was only the first part of the process. The real challenge was avoiding the same mistakes and ensuring he never faced financial hardship again. That was when he began studying the most common financial pitfalls that led people to lose control of their money and how to avoid them. The first mistake he identified was not having an emergency fund. According to a Federal Reserve survey, 40% of Americans wouldn't be able to cover an unexpected $400 expense without relying on credit. This alarming statistic revealed how most people lived without any financial cushion. Adam decided that his top priority would be to build a financial reserve equivalent to at least 6 months of fixed expenses. He automated monthly transfers to this account, ensuring he always had a safety net for unforeseen events. Another common mistake was depending solely on credit to maintain a lifestyle. Many people use credit cards as an extension of their income when, in reality, they are just payment tools that must be used cautiously. Adam adopted the full payment rule, never spending more than he could afford to pay off in full the following month. This prevented him from accumulating high-interest debt and kept his finances under control. The third critical mistake was not tracking expenses. Most people have no idea where their money goes. Small daily purchases, forgotten subscriptions, and unnecessary spending add up to significant amounts by the end of the month. Adam started using financial apps to track every penny, ensuring that each expense was intentional and planned. Financial education also became a priority for him. He realized that a lack of money knowledge was one of the main reasons people made poor financial decisions. He started reading books, following economists, and watching content on financial planning. According to a report by FINRA, Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, only 34% of Americans can correctly answer three basic financial questions. This lack of knowledge leads many people into predatory loans, bad investments, and unmanageable debt. Finally, Adam adopted a crucial principle, having a long-term financial plan. Instead of only thinking about the next month, he began setting goals for the next 5, 10, and 20 years. He created a retirement plan, established investment targets, and started planning future purchases strategically without impulsiveness. Financial security isn't just about avoiding debt. It's about developing smart and healthy money habits. In the next chapter, we will explore the best ways to build additional income streams and investments to ensure a financially stable and independent life. After learning how to avoid the most common financial mistakes, Adam realized that true stability didn't come just from controlling expenses, but from increasing income. He understood that relying on a single source of money was a significant risk, and that creating multiple income streams was the key to lasting financial security. He needed to build a future where he would never feel economically vulnerable again. To achieve this, he dedicated himself to exploring ways to generate money intelligently and sustainably. The first strategy Adam adopted was exploring extra income opportunities. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, about 44% of American workers already have some type of side job. Adam started by monetizing skills he already possessed, such as consulting in his field and offering freelance services on digital platforms. These occasional small jobs began generating an additional cash flow, which accelerated his financial recovery. He realized that many of the skills he had acquired over the years could be monetized, whether by writing articles, teaching online courses, or providing specialized mentoring. Additionally, he began studying investments. He realized that letting money sit idle in a bank account wasn't enough. With the help of books and financial experts, he started investing in index funds, which track the market's performance and provide solid long-term growth. He learned that investing consistently, even in small amounts, could ensure a comfortable retirement. According to a study by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, investors who start early and invest regularly can accumulate 2 to 3 times more wealth than those who delay their investments. He developed a long-term strategy to ensure that his financial security wasn't just temporary, but a continuous path to prosperity. Another strategy Adam implemented was creating passive income. He sought ways to earn money without having to trade hours of work for payment. He created a blog with ads and partnerships, considered selling online courses, and explored real estate investment opportunities. Gradually, he realized that his income was becoming more diverse, and that even without increasing his working hours, his money continued to grow. He learned that building passive income required patience and consistency, but the results could transform his financial life in the long run. He started following successful investors, understanding how they use their resources to build wealth intelligently and without taking unnecessary risks. But the greatest lesson came when he realized that financial mindset matters just as much as technical knowledge. He began studying the stories of entrepreneurs who started from nothing and noticed that the secret to financial freedom was thinking like an investor rather than just a worker. He realized that financially successful people had one thing in common. They didn't just work for money, they made money work for them. This meant seeking sustainable income sources and ensuring that every dollar invested generated long-term returns. To complement his journey, Adam began creating an income expansion plan. He set clear goals for each revenue stream he was building. He developed a growth strategy for his consulting business, expanded his investment portfolio, and started structuring a digital business that could generate money even while he slept. He knew that financial freedom wasn't achieved solely by cutting expenses, but by building assets that continuously generated money. Over time, Adam realized that creating extra income and investing wasn't something reserved only for millionaires or financial experts. Anyone could do it with planning and consistency. He learned the importance of patience and discipline, understanding that financial stability was a daily construction that required commitment. In the next chapter, we will see how Adam ensured that his financial security was sustainable in the long term, avoiding setbacks and solidifying his financial independence. Adam never faced financial struggles again. He no longer had to worry about unexpected expenses and was able to enjoy the peace of mind that financial security provides. The secret was never about making huge amounts of money overnight, but about maintaining solid and consistent financial habits over time. Now, the question remains, what can you do today to ensure that you never experience financial hardship again? Your future depends on the choices you make right now. Over the years, Adam realized that his effort to build a solid financial foundation had not been in vain. He no longer worried about overdue bills, he no longer feared financial emergencies, and, more importantly, he had achieved the long-coveted economic freedom. But his learning journey didn't end there. He understood that to remain financially secure in the long run, he would need to adopt continuous and sustainable practices. The first step was ensuring that he never again relied on a single source of income. As he had learned throughout his journey, any unexpected event could threaten his stability if he had only one revenue stream. To prevent this, he further diversified his passive income sources, invested in businesses with predictable returns, and maintained his financial discipline. The second major decision was keeping a robust emergency fund. While many people believe that 3 to 6 months worth of expenses is sufficient, Adam decided to maintain a reserve equivalent to 1 year of fixed costs. This ensured that, in the event of a major economic crisis or loss of one of his income streams, he would have enough time to restructure without panic. According to Bankrate statistics, only 44% of Americans have enough savings to cover unexpected expenses, reinforcing his decision to maintain this extra financial cushion. Additionally, he began strategically planning for retirement. Many people believe that saving for the future is something they can postpone, but Adam had learned that the earlier you start investing, the greater the long-term returns. He increased his contributions to retirement plans and sought investment options that guaranteed secure growth of his wealth. According to the Social Security Administration, 1 in 3 retirees in the U.S. depends almost exclusively on Social Security benefits, which strengthened his conviction that relying solely on government assistance was not a safe option. Another crucial factor was continuing to improve his financial education. Adam understood that markets, opportunities, and risks are constantly evolving, and staying informed was essential for continued prosperity. He committed to regularly reading finance books, attending conferences, and staying connected with experienced mentors in the field. A study by the National Endowment for Financial Education revealed that 71% of individuals who receive financial education make better money decisions, further solidifying his dedication to continuous learning. But perhaps Adam's greatest legacy was sharing his knowledge with others. He began guiding family and friends on how to get out of debt, invest wisely, and build a financially secure future. He realized that most people didn't fail financially due to a lack of ability, but rather due to a lack of information. By helping others avoid the mistakes he had made in the past, he felt he was contributing to a greater impact. Adam never faced financial struggles again. He no longer had to worry about unexpected expenses and was able to enjoy the peace of mind that financial security provides. The secret was never about making huge amounts of money overnight, but about maintaining solid and consistent financial habits over time. Now, the question remains, what can you do today to ensure that you never experience financial hardship again? Your future depends on the choices you make right now.